get to welcome Torre to our Talking Dirt show. He is our official, unofficial mayoral candidate who's had 2 terms. Let's get an official to give us a ruling on, are you officially a mayoral candidate?
Not officially. I mean, that doesn't happen. I guess when this is airing, by then, perhaps.
Oh, good.
Yeah, sometime next week I'll turn in my petition.
Yay.
Thanks a
Glad
lot.
to have you.
Right on.
So we wanted to invite you on the show because we wanted to talk about what's going on in Aspen now. I mean, I think this has been going on a long time, change and who's for change and who's against change. But now it seems to be heating up a bit with this petition drive for variance approvals.
Right.
And we'd love to know your position on this, what your thoughts are.
All right, before we get into the petition, let's start with a little bit of history for some of those that might not know what's gone on here that's brought about this. And this, what I would say, is much a reactive motion by the community. You know, if you go back some 10, 12, 13 years, there was a real upzoning downtown, what was called infill. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. For those that aren't, infill was a program to really create density where density probably should be in our downtown core. However, in those years, you know, we had a pretty strong council that may have, as the community estimates now, took it a little too far, perhaps. Those were building heights of about 47 feet, which a lot of actually the projects that you see downtown now just coming through really were under that code, but the community definitely had a reaction to that, feeling that even the code was not restrictive enough. And then we see on top of that, we see development coming in and asking for even more height, more waivers of fees, whether it's open space and parks fees or not building parking or not taking care of their affordable housing. So what you're seeing now is very reactive to really the last 10 years of what's gone on in Aspen. That brings us up to today a little bit. I did sign the petition. I did circulate the petition. My main goal with this, and I believe it is really the intent of the petitioners, is to create land use codes that really work for the community and the development community. I don't see this as a play to just say no to every development that comes through, but instead hoping to strike a balance and really hoping to make developers not have to come through with variance requests. It should be a code that really meets more in the middle between the two sides.
Right, because what's the point of having rules if there aren't really any rules? If you're just going to ask for a variance to waive those rules
on just about every project. And let's keep in mind for the viewers that it isn't every project. There are some development scenarios that are coming through that fit within the code, and I think that's important to note too.
With you don't want to take the legs off the officials either, meaning, you know, they want to be able to mediate and come to some agreement and also get some of the underlying currents that we want out there. For instance, you know, more parks, more spaces. We want lower rental hotels, things like that.
You know, and that's the nature of the PUD application, planned unit development. And it does give council the ability to look for community benefit. I think what you've seen lately, though, is once again, with the variances that are being requested and the waivers of fees, it's really across the board. For example, somebody doesn't just necessarily want 2 more feet of height. They also don't want to pay their affordable housing. They also don't want to provide parking on site. They want things as small as the park's fees to be waived. I think that overloads council's plate a little bit. You know, you got to keep in mind these are part-time officials. They all have, for the most part, full-time jobs. So it can be quite overwhelming, and I spent 8 years on the other side of the table as a councilman for the city of Aspen, and the trade-offs are very difficult. And I think that there is definitely still some wiggle room. I disagree that this legislation would tie the hands of council. I disagree. In essence, council still has the ability to grant the variances. It would just then go to the community for final approval. And I think that's a good community check. Once again, my goal is not to see everything go to a public vote. That's not what my intention is. Right. But I don't see the community as wanting to say no to everything. I think that they just want a little bit more trade-off for community benefit.
Right. Well, things like building a hotel with no parking is a little absurd.
On some sides, now some people would say that. Of course, you have the other argument, which is postured as saying that we're trying to be less of an auto-intensive town. So doesn't that restrict automobiles? Well, the truth is, what that really does is it burdens the immediate and adjacent neighborhoods, because you aren't going to be able to eliminate all of the cars that are going to be utilized by a hotel development. So where do they end up going? If you don't have it on site, where do they go?
Park on the street in these gorgeous neighborhoods where people have spent $5 and $6 million on a property, and then they have no parking in front of their own house.
Or even closer to the application that's coming through, without naming names, that's where the Johnny McGuire's building is. That's a very intensive neighborhood right on the other side of Original. So you're going to see the impacts being felt by people that rely on their street parking for their guests and for their families.
And City Market, that parking lot is a disaster. So people are going to pull in there, say, I'm just going to be here a second, and then run across the street, and City Market's going to lose all their parking,
It's going to be impactful to the immediate neighborhood, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're throwing your name in the ring because people have come to you and said, hey, Torre, I'm not being heard?
Without a doubt. I mean, throughout my 14 years now of being involved in local politics, it seems that I do have a voice for maybe a different segment, people that don't feel like some of their concerns are being brought to the table. So that's definitely it. After 2 years ago coming in second place for the mayor's race and really wanting to provide leadership in City Hall and continue to work on growth and development questions, strengthening our community, as well as forwarding environmental projects and progress. I think some of those things have fallen off the table, and there's other issues in this campaign that'll be coming up. But I have people that are very supportive and have been for the last 14 years, and we're going to give it another try.
When will you officially be in the race?
That's after you fill out a small nominating petition. It's only 25 signatures of registered voters, and I have that petition now, and I'm circulating that and grabbing my friends and supporters and even meeting with some of those people that haven't supported me in the past and asking for their support. And I'll turn that in probably, like I say, sometime in mid-February.
And we have to ask one last question. What is with Torre? What's your real name?
I'm actually glad you asked that. I will try to make this quick. I don't know how long this show actually runs or not. This is a pretty quick story if I can make it so. All right, so yes, I have one name. Yes, it is legally changed. My passport, my driver's license, you name it, I'll say just Torre. My birth name is Ronald Wayne Moranian III.
Wow.
Ronald Wayne Moranian III. I am half Armenian. I'm very proud of my family. I didn't change it because I'm witness protection or anything. As my dad likes to say, as soon as I got into politics, he said, you better take our last name off of there. But that's not the case. So my parents just couldn't decide on a name when my mother was pregnant with me. Troy, Trevor, Trey, all these things around the mark. When they left the hospital, they put my father's name on my birth certificate, and about a week later, Torre. That's what we wanted. So a week after I was born, I was named Torre. Now, my parents divorced, so I was Ronald Wayne Moranian on my birth certificate, but I went by Torre. 2 years later, my parents were divorced. My mother remarried. I grew up as Torre Dubose, was my childhood name. I grew up as Torre Dubose. Neither of them were legal. Neither of them were on any documentation, anything like that. So later in life, as I grew up, I really was known as Torre, and that's always been who I am. And so after calling my dad and asking for his okay, I told him I was going to change my name.
The mystery is officially solved, people.
Case solved.
Case closed. We'll be back with more Talking Dirt.